Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick, founder of Herbal 411, and today's unboxing is going to be on electrolytes. You've probably heard LMNT. It's a popular electrolyte rehydration formula for endurance sports. This is one of the packets. I got that online and it was a sample pack, but I have to admit some of the flavors were not that exciting. Citrus salts, watermelon, orange, not my favorite. So maybe I've already been biased by saying I'm not going to like the flavor. This is strictly for flavoring. And it's very personalized, but I thought I would talk about it if you're one of my patients. If you're not one of my patients, you shouldn't be watching, so turn this video off immediately. What do we do with these things? Well, they're supposed to be added to fluid. You definitely have to drink when you're doing an endurance sport. As if it's less than an hour, probably not a big deal. But if you're going to be going on a hike with me, high altitude, several hours, up to 8, I think it's important to have the right amount of fluids. And the thing with fluids is if it's not flavored and you don't know how to time your fluid intake, I like the Galpin formula for figuring out how often and how much. If you're not sure about how to do it and you're just tasting water and it's probably going to be warm, do you really think that's going to be palatable? To be sustainable, something has to be enjoyable. If you know you're going to make it to a summit, or just not even if you're going up to a hike with me, if you're just doing a distance ride, a row, a run, and it's going to be one of your long days, especially during the summertime, you have to know how to hydrate. If you don't, it just screws up your healing time. And it sometimes makes the restorative phase, the healing time after the exercise, makes it a lot longer because you'll cramp easier, you'll have less fluid to get the lactic acid back from the muscle to the liver. When you wait for dehydration or thirst to occur, that's probably already too bad, too dry. To put it this way, I used to take care of Chicago Marathon. Whenever all the docs, after the marathon was mostly finished, have to converge onto the medical tent at the end, there's always going to be injuries, there's always going to be dehydration. And after 26.3 miles, you figure some very well-versed marathoners know how to take advantage of the fluid or the rehydration tables, Gatorade or water. But some people who are newbies, they don't know, and they come in cramping, severe cramping, body aches, fever, nausea, and vomiting. Imagine us in a medical tent trying to tell somebody, I want you to drink this. And they're vomiting and nauseous already. And we do IVs, but we try to limit the IVs. And in some cases, you got to get somebody to the hospital for a couple hours of IV hydration. Again, going back to staying hydrated, enjoying the exercise, enjoying the event that you're participating in, it just makes it more palatable to drink when it's flavored. And if you're a sodium secretor, meaning that you sweat a lot of sodium out, I would usually figure how much sodium by watching my hikers and watching who has the water stains or on the brim of the hat. Especially if it's a black color, you'll see the white powder start to accumulate. I had one person that was they had white spots, even wiping off on the handkerchief, white spots, and it wasn't a black handkerchief. So I knew that person was a heavy sodium secretor. Some people just sweat and you don't even see it. And that's a rough estimate. You can do fancy tests to figure out if you're a sodium secretor. Alberto Salazar, he was a big marathoner. He did the Boston and he set the world record a couple times, or at least the Boston record. He used to secrete, he would be drenched in crusts of salt. That's what the rumor was. But it's always important to hydrate. If you're a salt secretor, it's important to hydrate with the proper amount of sodium. So I've always liked Noon, and the story with this is that I used to just do airborne because I wanted the flavor. When I started hiking in altitude, 2013, took my first hike to Yosemite, and I went to higher and higher elevations thereafter. And the higher you go, the longer your hike is. And that's why I started the hiking excursion club, is that I want to have other people experience this. But sometimes we're at elevations above the tree line and there's no water. So you have to carry something. If you are a salt secretor, if you wanted the proper amount, the salt from your diet is sodium chloride. It's a little bit crappy. Salt that you'll find in dehydration, usually one tablet of this is about 300 milligrams. So I'll just talk about Noon while we're here. That's the Noon tablet. It's a fizz tab, so it melts in here. I just put 2 in here now, and it's flavored and colored my 64 ounces of water. I like the salt. Have to admit, there's probably a little bit of sugar in there, 1 gram per 1 tablet. So I am probably having some sugar. And that's where these guys came in. This is Now Foods brand. I buy this at my favorite store, Fruitful Yield in Illinois. And the Now Foods doesn't have any sugar. So they are obviously a direct competitor to Noon. and it's about $1 cheaper. So without sugar, pretty decent. I have to taste the flavor of this one. This is Recovery's. It's orangey. I don't know if I'd like it, but I still bought it anyway just for the purposes. There's also LMNT, as I mentioned. LMNT has 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 300 of potassium, and 89 of magnesium. These guys both have about 300, 150, and 25 of the same things. So there's definitely more salt in here. And you've always been told by your doctor, try to go on a low salt diet. And that's ultra processed salt. So I agree, you should probably curtail the amount of salt that you have from table, the shaker, or in your highly processed foods. A lot of the dinners that you put in the microwave, they have massive amounts of sodium, 1,000 per meal, and the meal's not that big. And that 1,000 milligrams of sodium is totally different than this 1,000 milligrams of sodium. This is healthy. The ultra-processed food is not. It's probably sodium chloride, which is not really that healthy. So don't worry about the numbers. Just worry about the flavor. And when I tasted this, I didn't like it. I didn't like the sample packs in there. There's something about the mouthfeel I didn't like. It's got to be the balance of the salt. This I like, but as I mentioned to you, it might be because of the sugar is attracting me. Or it just might be a well-balanced tablet. I did try this already, and it was a good competition for my noon. So there is one more that I tried, and these are powders. These are powders. That's mostly electrolytes. These are all electrolytes. This is something different, Eco Drink, and the flavor is pretty decent, but it doesn't have any sodium in it. This is all herbals in addition to vitamins. And if a kid refuses to do a gummy, refuses to do a chewable tablet, Flintstones, which is crap, then you can kind of fool them with this. If you put this into their little drink and you put the drink in their lunchbox, they might drink it. You just have to make sure that you don't destroy the bottle. So there's a little film residue that is left in the bottle. You might be able to clean it out of your bottles, but it's hard to clean out of your bladders. If you have a bladder that fits into a backpack or a running vest, those bladders are tough, and just putting water in it to get some of the residue off probably won't work. So I would probably just use this for bottles. So hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas about my preferences for the fizz tabs or the electrolyte rehydration. You can test it out on your own and let me know. If you have other electrolyte substitutes that you use, please put them in the comments down below. Please consider subscribing or sharing this with other people who are also on the journey to be healthy. I do that with my integrative medicine background. I try to get my patients healthy. And by the way, if you're not my patient, you shouldn't be watching this because none of this can be taken as medical advice. Please take this information to your doctor's office and see how it pertains to you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next video.